The containment lab on Kepler Station hummed with the steady rhythm of life support systems, but Dr. Rose Chen knew that beyond these sterile walls, the galaxy was dying. She adjusted her environmental suit and checked the readings on her scanner one more time. The ancient pathogen they'd discovered in the ruins of Xerion Prime was unlike anything science had ever encountered. "Still nothing?" Rayan Torres asked through the comm, his voice tight with concern as he monitored her from the observation deck. "The Zephyrian tissue samples are completely destroyed," Rose replied, her breath fogging the inside of her helmet. "Cellular breakdown occurred within minutes of exposure. Same with the Craxian specimens and the Vorthan cultures." She paused, studying the data scrolling across her tablet. "Rayan, this thing doesn't just kill. It unravels genetic structures at the molecular level. 3 weeks ago, an archaeological team had breached a sealed chamber on the dead world of Xerion Prime, one of the galaxy's oldest civilizations. Within hours, every non-human member of the expedition had succumbed to what appeared to be the most virulent plague in recorded history. The few human survivors spoke of ancient warnings carved into the chamber walls, speaking of a great silence that had once swept across the stars. Now, as reports flooded in from across the galaxy, it became clear that the plague was spreading faster than any containment protocol could stop it. The proud Altarians, masters of biotechnology, fell within days. The silicon-based Crystallians, thought to be immune to organic diseases, crumbled to dust. Even the energy beings of the Nexus Collective simply ceased. But humans remained untouched. "How is that possible?" Rayan muttered, pulling up the latest casualty reports on the main display. The numbers were staggering, entire civilizations wiping out in a matter of weeks. "Every species in the Galactic Council is affected except us." "What makes humans so special?" Rose sealed the last sample container and moved to the decontamination chamber. As the sterilization fields washed over her, she considered the question that had been haunting her since the outbreak began. "Maybe we're not special," she said quietly. "Maybe we're just older than we thought." She emerged from decon and joined Rayan in the observation deck, where holographic displays showed the spreading catastrophe across known space. Red zones marked dead systems, yellow indicated active outbreaks, and green showed the few remaining unaffected worlds, almost all of them human colonies. "I've been running genetic comparisons," Rose continued, calling up her research files. "Look at this." She highlighted a specific genetic sequence on the display. "This is a dormant gene cluster found in human DNA. Until now, we assumed it was evolutionary junk, leftovers from our prehistoric past." Rayan leaned forward, studying the data. "What does it do?" "That's just it, we never knew. But watch what happens when I expose it to the plague pathogen." Rose ran the simulation, and they watched as the dormant gene suddenly activated, producing proteins that seemed to neutralize the ancient disease. "It's not that we're immune, Rayan, we're inoculated. This gene cluster is an antibody system specifically designed to counter this exact pathogen." The implications hit him like a physical blow. "You're saying humanity has encountered this plague before?" "Not just encountered it," Rose said, her voice growing excited despite the dire circumstances. "We survived it. Our ancestors lived through this same plague, developed immunity, and passed it down through countless generations. The dormant genes are proof. We're the descendants of the last great galactic civilization." Across the galaxy, the truth was becoming impossible to ignore. On Centauri Prime, human researchers found themselves suddenly in charge of evacuation efforts as their alien colleagues succumbed. Human medics worked frantically to comfort dying species, their own survival a cruel irony in the face of such universal suffering. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood before the emergency session of the Galactic Council, now broadcast to empty chambers across dozens of worlds. The few remaining alien leaders appeared as holograms, their forms already showing signs of the plague's advance. "We pledge to do everything in our power to preserve your cultures, your knowledge, your legacy," she said, her voice carrying across the dying galaxy. "Humanity will not let your civilizations be forgotten." Supreme Counselor Thexhai of the Vilarian Empire, his crystalline form already showing cracks, spoke with difficulty. "Perhaps this is why the universe brought humans to the stars at this time, not as conquerors, but as inheritors." Back on Kepler Station, Rose and Rayan worked tirelessly to decode more of the ancient warnings. The Xerion inscription spoke of a cycle, a great test that swept the galaxy every few million years, clearing the way for the next phase of evolution. Species would rise, flourish, and ultimately face the plague. Only those who had survived it before could pass through to the next era. We're not just survivors, Rose realized, looking out at the stars that now held so much death and so little life. We're the gardeners. Our ancestors survived the last cycle, seeded the galaxy with new civilizations, and watched over them until it was time for the next test. Rayan placed a hand on her shoulder. And now it's our turn. Within months, human ships would carry the preserved genetic material, cultural archives, and digital consciousness of 100 different species. They would seek new worlds, plant the seeds of civilizations yet to come, and wait. In a few million years, when the ancient plague returned again, some of those new species might join humanity in the role of gardener. The galaxy had grown quiet, but it was not empty. As long as humans remembered, as long as they carried forward the legacy of countless worlds, the Great Silence was not an ending. It was a beginning.